Hey everyone, welcome to Today's Different Gaming Appetizers. What are we talking about this time? Nintendo says that devs need to launch their titles in a more polished state so they don't have launch patches or after launch patches, right? Legendary Nintendo developer behind Super Smash Bros. Has advised developers to launch the most polished games possible. He states that patches are meaningless if players completely move on from a game due to a poor launch. Sakurai, who is the developer said this, still acknowledges the difficulties of modern game development. So we've had a lot of AAA games, such as Cyberpunk 2077, among others, that have launched in very poor states. Battlefield 1942 or 43, whatever that one was, launched in a very poor state. And, the developers have stuck with it to make it a better project, ultimately. Cyberpunk's a good example of that, as now Cyberpunk 2077 is a great game. I enjoyed it when it came out, but it's definitely like way better than it was. So even as an example that they give here, even Shadows of the Erd Tree suffered from various performance issues, leading to a wave of negative reviews on Steam. Nintendo is saying that the Sakurai is urging teams to launch their titles in a polished state. So even though AAA development is a hectic job, there's much debugging, and bugs and glitches can easily pass through, no matter how much they try to squash everything before it comes out. Sakurai discussed the current issues with AAA gaming, such as the number of releases with poor optimization and bugs. And he doesn't have a problem. So he doesn't have a problem with post-launch patches if he believes that the patches and DLC, he believes that the patches and DLC are good for games, which they are. Again, you're not going to squash every bug. You're not going to be able to get every glitch, and so even post-launch, you're going to find things that you need to patch. But he highlights that patches are pointless if the audience lost trust in the game shortly after release, which makes sense, right? Making matters worse, developers barely get hands-on time with their projects since development requires frequent revisions of their work. Despite his advice, Sakurai acknowledges how patches help improve games as a free bonus. He also emphasizes that bug testing is incredibly challenging since testers can't put the game through its paces like millions of consumers after launch. So, yeah, that's just, that's just how it is. But I agree with him that developers need to make sure that their games are completely polished, or as polished as they can be, before they release them out to the public, right? We can't have AAA titles coming out like, even though now Cyberpunk 2077 is a great game, we can't have titles coming out that are just piss poor condition, because not in every case, but in a lot of cases, you will lose a huge chunk of that player base due to its poor performance and bugs and things like that. The games industry, technology, everything is in constant movement and motion, and people can't stick around one thing for too long before wanting the next thing or going on to the next exciting idea or game or whatever it is. So you have to come out of the gate, running. You can't stumble out of the gate and then hope that later on people are going to come back and and pick you back up, right? A year or two later after the fact. And Cyberpunk is an example where people did come back with the expansion that, with all the patches, and then the expansion that got really good critical reviews and everyone seemed to like it. But, I feel like Cyberpunk's more of a one-off type of thing, and not everyone's going to be so lucky. Even Battlefield 2042 is better now than it was at launch, but still, I don't think it has the player base that it could have had. I don't think it's really matching the number of players that Battlefield 1 and Battlefield 4 and 3 and stuff like that had. compared to what they did with Battlefield 2042 because of the piss poor launch, also because of the big changes with that game, right? So there's a lot of things that developers, if you're going to make AAA games, if developers and publishers are going to put all this money into AAA development, you've got to make sure, I say, you got to make sure it's as polished as possible when you release it out into the wild. I know a lot of this doesn't come from the developers. It mainly comes from the publishers wanting to get something out the door for a release window or a certain time, investors and things like that. But that's where then they turn around, and they go, well, the game didn't do good. Well, yeah, it didn't do good because you wanted to get it out on the store shelves as quick as possible. And everyone's like, this game is a buggy, complete mess, right? And you're just thinking, people will buy it anyway, right? And then it doesn't happen. And then investors are like, what? What happened? Well, I can tell you what happened, but you don't want to listen to it. You just want that quick, easy money. So I agree. I mean, that's why, a lot of Nintendo releases, if you think about it, a lot of games that come out on like Switch that are from Nintendo, or a lot of the games that come out that are Nintendo games, typically are pretty good out of the gate, right? They might have a patch here and there, but they're pretty stable out of the gate and don't really come across games that they've created themselves with their internal teams that come out of the gate broken or a bug filled type of game. So it makes a lot of sense to make sure that you have a polished title and not something that you'll say, "Oh, we'll just fix it later," because again, I think you'll lose a lot of that player base. But let's go around and see what everybody thinks. Patrick, what do you think of what Sakurai is saying here about polished titles?
Okay, Captain Obvious. Than I would say. I mean, I don't know. I'm trying to when we were going through the article, I'm trying to think to myself, where did this come from? And I'm like, I stating the obvious is all I can say, because of course gamers are a fickle bunch. We've talked about this before, where 1 minute they're singing your praises, and the next minute they're ready to claw out your eyes. Everybody a great majority of people love Elden Ring, and they put out, as to use the example in the article, and the game comes out with performance issues and just gets hit with negative reviews. Of course it does, right? That's what gamers do. Their only form of complaint is a negative review bombing, really, right? You can complain all day you want on a forum or whatever, but it really doesn't affect anything. Review scores is where they can have the most effect for change or whatever. I hate to say anything about Nintendo games, because Nintendo makes good games, but at the same time, the scope and breadth of their games is nothing like what's out there in the PC and other console markets. I mean, breadth. The Zelda game is a massive game, and it had bugs and things like that. So there, to me, it's stating the obvious. We as gamers want something that is bug free and ready to play. I mean, as a gamer, I can deal with minor inconvenience bugs. It's to be expected. But what I don't want is a completely busted game right out the door, where every time I turn a corner it crashes, or do this, it crashes, or this, it doesn't save, or get save locks or brick locks or whatever you want. And you're just like, well, that to me is not acceptable. But at the same time, I'm with Dick. The real people to blame are the gamers and the publishers and stuff like that are pushing the developers to put an incomplete product on the shelf, because gamers, like I said, are fickle, and they will just review bomb a game because it was later than when they said it was going to come out, because they're trying to fix and polish those bugs that everybody's like, you can't release this. So it's a double-edged sword, right? If gamers were patient and more understanding, instead of just jumping to the gun and ready to freaking commit Harry Carey, at the drop of a dime because the game's late or something, we all get disappointed. But at the same time, there are people that just take it way too far. You get developers get death threats and things like that because the game had to push or that it wasn't. And I'm just like, who wants to appease that? Nobody. You're taught to correct that behavior when you're younger, that, you can't throw a tantrum in the middle of the grocery store now. You can't have your way. But some of these people just, they can't function in real life and adult life. And so it's a double-edged sword here. Of course, I want a complete bug-free game experience. Is that realistic? Absolutely, it is, because it's the nature of beast. It takes you 7 years to develop a game. You should be, every time you iterate, you should be, regression testing all the stuff that you've already tested. But they just go through, add on, test what they've added on, test. They, very rarely, are they able to take a complete picture and inventory of what they've developed and start and finish and spread out and do what they need to. Because to be honest, that's what early access games are doing today. They basically are saying, here's this iteration, play it, report back to us. Okay, the next version of this, play it until they're ready to go with GA or 1.0, and I, that model annoys me, but it is what it is. I'll choose to either participate or not participate. I'm not going to go out there and negative review bomb stuff because I don't agree with their timeline or whatever. I'll save my reviews for actual reviews and not emotional reviews. This game was a year late, 5 years late, or this game, this or that. I'll wait when it comes out and be like, enjoyed myself, currently unplayable due to game breaking bug, or whatever. But I'm not always quick to release, put a review in neither of something that's day one. I'll give it a little bit of a chance. So I don't know. I think it's Captain Obvious on this. We all want that experience. You can't release a completely broken game, but to me, I expect to see some minor bugs, not major bugs, minor bugs. What about you, Shane? Are you ready to go out there and raise hell because your game had a day one patch?
Yes, I am ready to go out there and be that guy. No. To release a game broken like Cyberpunk is unacceptable. To release a game like No Man's Sky at launch, to me, that was unacceptable. That kind of stuff should not happen. It just shouldn't. I mean, you cannot say this game is done and it's not done when your day one patch is bigger than your damn game. Your game wasn't done. The problem is we enjoy the patch originally because they were like, oh crap, we forgot this. They patch it, great. Okay, game works, no problem. But then they use it as an excuse to half-ass their jobs. And I put most of that on, just like you said, Pat, it's the publishers, stockholders, things like that. They are the biggest detriment to the gaming industry. I mean, they are their biggest problem. They want that game to make buku bucks, but they don't want them to put the work into it to get the game good enough to make those buku bucks. Stellar Blade, pretty much every Nintendo game from Nintendo is top notch. Very minimal issues with it. And then you got the AAAs that you're excited for and you're pumped, and they come out like broken crap. Elden Ring, I don't remember Elden Ring really being that bad, but I do remember there was issues. GTA 5 was a big disappointment at launch because there was so many issues with it. Just trying to connect online was a disaster. So it is a big duh. That's what we want moment, but it's nice to see developers calling other developers out. The developers for Baldur's Gate, they said a lot of things that ticked off a bunch of industry people. And then the industry people are like, well, that's, this game is a fluke. We can't all do that. Well, why not? Why can't you not release a game that's quality, complete, very minimal issues? Why can't everybody do that? It's because they don't want to spend the money or the time to release a product that's releasable. And as a gaming society, vote for your wallet. We never do because we still buy them because we were excited for them because they're released, announced 7 freaking years ago. But, we still end up buying them and we still get ticked off. Now, I agree with Pat. I'm not going to just jump out and whine and complain about it in my review. But that is a part of the review, though, that the game is broken. the game is bad because of glitching issues, save crashes, things like that. That's just completely unacceptable things. And the gaming development industry has been more than willing to just let it keep going. But it's nice to have other developers come out and say, look, you all can do better. We can. We're doing the same things you are. Why can't you do it? And there you go. So, me personally, I think it's a damn good thing that somebody's coming out here and saying this, developer to developer, peer to peer. I think there needs to be more to that. I think the developer for Stellar Blade, even if it's not your game, at least that game released solid. It released clean. Smash Brothers, Mario's, those always release solid and clean. Zelda was probably the buggiest thing I've ever seen Nintendo put out in the last 10 years. So, and it still was more playable than Cyberpunk or, GTA 5 was when they released. So, but that's just to me. Right, Nick?
Yep. That's just a you.
That's just a me.
Yeah, but I mean, it is obvious, but I mean, it's something that needs to be said, and it's something that developers need to. I mean, you're right, Shane, that other developers can do the same, but again, we're right. I think in the fact that the publisher, the stockholder, the investor, things like that, they want that easy money. They want that push that game out. Redfall is a good example of that too. That game either needed to be canceled or pushed out incredibly further out, right? And it could have ended up being something better than what it was. There's a lot of these things. Like, yes, we get impatient as gamers. We want it now. But, hopefully a lot of us don't want it now to the point where we get it and it's a pile of steaming crap because we wanted it now, right? I'm fine with a developer pushing a game back. It sucks, but I'm fine with it if they're going to use that time to improve the finished product when the finished product finally makes it to market. Then I'm like, okay, cool. That's fine. It sucks. I would like to play it now, but whatever. It's pushed out for a year, and then, it's probably going to be better than it was if it came out now, right? I don't want a broken game and then a year later it's fixed, right? I'd rather have the full experience, the full working experience of the game coming out later. I got enough backlog. I can keep myself occupied. I'll be fine. So that's the mentality us gamers need to have is, to keep things, in check. I know we want it now. Trust me, I'm the same way. I want things now, but you can't always have the good things you want right away. So
I think part of the problem though is probably going to get some flack for people, but pre-order bonuses and pre-order bonuses from specific stores. That is probably one of the biggest perpetrators of a lot of this, in my opinion. And the reason I'll say this is because if, let's say, the game has a pre-order bonus that you really want, but you can only get it if you pre-order it. So now you have to pre-order something before like the review embargo's up, right? You're like, I got to pre-order this or else I'm not going to get XYZ with the game. Maybe this version that you order from, I'll use this for a perfect example, Best Buy. Best Buy has a lot of like exclusive steel books, only for them. And I'm like, if you want that, you have to pre-order from them. And you have to pre-order before the supplies is exhausted, right? Because they're like limited supplies or whatever, first whatever. So you're like, if I really want those items, I have to basically put my faith in that the game is going to come out completely bug-free and playable on day one, and that I'm really going to enjoy what they're putting out, right? So it's always a risk in that aspect. If I want the items from the pre-order or the exclusive from the specific storefront that I'm pre-ordering from, then you have basically locked yourself into good, bad, broken game. And that has always annoyed me for years because you're like, oh, well, now I can't get that cool armor skin with the game because I didn't pre-order it because I was worried I wasn't going to like it, or I was worried that, whatever was going to happen, the game was going to be a complete buggy mess and I paid full price for something that I should have waited for them to fix everything 6 months later and got it for $30 or half off or something. So pre-orders are another problem, in my opinion, with this type of process, because review embargoes are usually up like the week before, maybe 3 days before the game releases. So it just depends on the publishers on where their review embargoes are at. And some games, review embargoes are in place until the game releases. You can't drop any reviews or any footage or gameplay until release date. So it's a big, vicious, perpetuating cycle. If developers put out something that's completely broken and you paid full price for it, but it's unplayable until a month, 2 weeks down the road, depending on how quickly they are to fix all those day one game breaking bugs, that's part of the problem. But if they would basically do what you guys said, not like wait for developers to say, I am comfortable with this being out, it's playable with relatively very small minor bugs, and it'd be a good deal. But right now you're pre-ordering, paying for hype and stuff like that, and hoping it lives up to the hype instead of being able to wait for a review embargo to get those extra items that you only get for pre-order. But such is life, and as long as people are willing to do it, then they'll keep making it, keep having pre-order bonuses. All stores want to entice you to pre-order or buy from them so they know how much they need to buy. So they're going to keep doing exclusive pre-order bonuses too, which just drive me mad. Like, I really want that Steelbook, but I'm not getting it unless I pre-order. Pain in the ass.
Gamers are pretty much their biggest enemy. We are our own biggest enemy because we do things, we buy things, we know things. We're better than this, but yet our love for games makes us do the things we hate and buy broken things we know is going to suck. Buy things that we that are not reviewed till the day of, and that embargo is going to be good. So we just gotta stop allowing these things. But it is what it is.
Yep, agreed. You guys got anything else you want to add to this? All right. Well, thanks everybody for watching. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like button. Let us know down in the comments below what you all think. Give us your feedback. Other than that, make sure to subscribe if you're not already. Help us out. Do us a favor. Hit that subscribe button. It really helps us out and lets us know that you enjoy the content that we put out. Hit the bell notifications to stay up to date with new videos that we do all the time. And we will see you next time.
See ya.